Hello and welcome to 35 Minute Movies presents the Emma Stoners. This is the podcast where we're going through Emma Stone's entire filmography and ranking and reviewing as we go along. My name is Cameron and I'm joined by Emma Stone's number one fan, Awais. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited to be talking about some movies, some controversial movies.
Yep. For a bit out of it, this is the first time we've recorded on the week of release for a very long time. So it's been a couple weeks.
It's been a while. It's been a couple weeks since we've. That's a little insight into how we've been doing it. We've been doing it quite early. It's been a while. Our last episode I recorded when I was in Italy.
Yes.
So it's been a good bit of time since we recorded.
If you know us, you can kind of place where all these episodes have been recorded. Good lineup of movies today. Kind of, maybe. It'll be an interesting talk. I'm interested to talk to you about them because some of them are quite controversial now, and it's interesting. So let's just jump right in. First up, we're going to be talking about Crazy Stupid Love, which came out in 2011. This is directed by Glenn Ficarra and John Requa, John Requa. It stars Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, Leo Tipton, who else?
Kevin Bacon,
Julianne Moore,
Emma
and
Stone.
Of course, Emma Stone. But Awais, what happens in this movie?
Yeah, so a lot of things happen in this movie. It's one of these sort of sprawling. There's various narratives that sort of come together, but the sort of central storyline revolves around Cal, who's like he's a middle-aged sort of accountant. His life changes drastically when his wife, played by Julianne Moore, asks him for a divorce. He sort of ends up in a bit of a tizzy, and he has to rediscover his manhood, which he does via the help of Jacob, played by Ryan Gosling. But he ends up falling in love with Emma Stone's character, Hannah, and all of these various storylines come to a head in what is probably one of cinema's most iconic scenes, I think. Everyone knows
easily.
The scene. Everyone knows the scene. What do you think of this movie?
I love it. This is probably one of my favourite rom-coms, I think, of all time. It's just so funny. I don't want to say clever, but I guess it's a little bit clever. Just the way it kind of morphs all these stories together
into one.
I think is just so good, and it just makes it like a really rewarding watch. It it really does make it. And I just love the whole cast. The whole cast is brilliant in this.
So terrific,
What about yourself? What you think about this movie?
I agree. I think it's such a great rom-com. I've seen this, a few times now. I was watching it again the other night. It's still very funny. Like, the jokes in it are still hilarious. The whole dynamic between Cal and Jacob, Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling is just so funny. It's just so funny. Obviously, Ryan Gosling is helping him rediscover his manhood. He's a bit of a ladies' man, and so he's like, turning Steve Carell into the same sort of thing, and it's just such a funny transition. But like, we talk about sort of the big plot twist, which is how everything sort of comes to a head. There are lots of little plot twists as well. Like, for example, the first woman that Steve Carell sleeps with outside of his wife is Marissa Tomei's character. Who ends up in a later reveal being his son's English teacher. And it's just
Marissa Tomei is perfect in this as well, though. That is a perfect
funny.
little
scene is
cameo role,
so
I guess, because she is just hilarious.
Do you cringe watching it? Do you cringe watching this film?
Yeah, I think so. I'm laughing, but I'm cringing. It is really funny.
There are scenes that I just like. So that the big sort of the film's big centerpiece scene is where it's revealed that Emma Stone is in fact Steve Carell's daughter, and obviously dating Ryan Gosling, who is this ladies' man, and then it's revealed that what else is it like? Steve Carell's friend. Are you good?
Sorry, there's a wasp just entered the room. I'm going to leave this in.
I was like, are you going to leave this in? Okay,
I'm going to leave this in so you can keep talking. I promise I'm looking around because I'm worried. I don't know where I had eyes on the wasp and I was watching him on the webcam.
Cameron's about to die live on camera.
Yes. So we're going to find out if I'm allergic to wasps, I think, live on air. But continue. Yes,
I was having a wee mind blank there. It was revealed, so Steve Carell's friend is John Carroll Lynch.
Steve Carell's friend's the father of the babysitter who the young boy son, Steve Carell's young son, has a massive crush on. But it's revealed that
they have a crush on Steve Carell.
They have a crush on Steve Carell. And then it's like it just spirals from there. There's just a whole
David Lindhagen shows up.
David Lindhagen's just there. The reveal of Ryan Gosling being Emma Stone's boyfriend, and being Emma Stone being the daughter of Steve Carell is just perfect as well.
It's just it's so cringeworthy to watch.
Yeah,
but it's like a car crash. You can't look away.
It's just,
even though you should.
Jaws on the floor. You're just going. Everything seems to be moving in slow motion as all these pieces just fall together perfectly, and that's what I love about this movie. We could talk a little bit about Emma Stone though.
She's terrific in it.
Terrific in this again, showing how great she is at comedy. But not only that, I think this really showcases why she works so well with Ryan Gosling. Like, it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Their chemistry is off the charts.
Off the charts. Yeah.
Yeah. The scene in them in bed where Ryan Gosling obviously was like doing all his moves, but she kind of dismantles the moves and reveals his vulnerable side. I think with them lying in bed just chatting, I think it's some of the best.
It's my favorite scene in the film. It's just it feels so pure and authentic. Like the whole film moves at such a quick pace, and it's so funny and so fast. And that scene is such a nice change of pace from everything, and it's the first time you really get an insight into Ryan Gosling's character, and it reveals so much without saying a lot about his character, about her character, and their chemistry is off the charts, and their whole dynamic is just, I think, in that scene, so rich and beautiful.
Yeah, excellent.
Gets me in the feels.
It does. It gets you in the feels. It's great how it all sort of works out in the end. I feel like it almost should have wrapped up, but it goes on for like another 20 minutes after this, like, or what feels like a climactic scene. It does go on for like another 20 minutes, which I think doesn't work the way I think it wanted it to work. I kind of wanted it all to sort of work out from there, but I feel like they had to keep it going because it would have been a really short movie otherwise.
I agree. See, my issue with the film is the ending. It just feels too rushed. Like, it's a hard film to wrap up considering everything the film is juggling at that point. And I don't think there's any seamless way to tie everything together. Yeah. I don't love the
graduation scene is just so cringy though. Like that was some of the worst cringe. Like some of the, I think maybe not the worst scene, but like is probably the worst for the cringe comedy, I think, as well, where it's just sort of like, oh God, please kill me. Like this is just,
but like,
please stop.
I feel like the rest of the film plays into the cringe. That one, I don't know if it does.
It feels like it should be a touching scene, but it doesn't land touching. It feels like, because you're too used to the cringe at that point. You're like, oh, for God's sake, something's gonna happen, something's gonna go wrong, and you're just sitting there like, oh, like please make it stop.
Yeah, and there's that moment between Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, and Emma Stone where he like finally gives them his blessing, and I feel like that should have been a much bigger moment. There should have been more. There should have been more to it, considering the build up to that reveal, considering the dynamic that Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling have shared. It to me felt like they didn't do as much as they could have with that dynamic. I wanted to see more, not even more conflict. I just I don't know realistically what I wanted, but it doesn't do it justice, I think.
For sure. Yeah. I think one of the things that also struck me watching this movie was the fact that you couldn't make it today. You couldn't, the plot wouldn't work today because
how come?
Of social media because of the way mobile phones have work now, because one of the plot points is about the babysitter taking nude photographs on a proper chunky old camera these days, like, and it just
and printing them out,
having physical copies of these nudes, which I think is just hilarious, and it just would not happen to like that entire thing. You also probably would have found out about, if you Steve Carell would have found out about Ryan Gosling earlier because of social media or something like that. It just, you know what I mean? It just, all these other things would have you could remake it today, I think, and it would be a very different movie. Like, it would be very interesting to see what, like, a 2021 version 10 years later, how much things have changed. I think it would be very interesting to see.
I know exactly what you mean. It is very much a sort of film set in its time, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, not at all.
I'd be very curious to see how they would remake it today.
Yeah,
because I feel like you could still take those plot elements, but just maybe the contemporary sort of spin on it could add an interesting angle to it, I think.
Yeah, of course. It'd be really cool.
Yeah. Bring Ryan. I said this to you. I want Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone in more things.
It's 3 movies, I think, I counted. That's all they're in together. I feel like it should be at least 600. I don't know. It just feels like it should be much more.
Like, we're actually, funnily enough, in our next episode, we're going to talk about their next film.
Gangster
Squad. And we're also going to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man, which I feel like those, like, her dynamic with Andrew Garfield and Ryan Gosling are probably the 2 dynamics that work best.
100%.
Obviously, the Andrew Garfield one for different reasons at the time.
Yeah.
You know, considering they dated and they were engaged and everything. But, yeah, I mean, I was watching this again the other day and I was just like, man, like, how have they not been in more things? Like, Gangster Squad felt like an ingenious move because of the fact that it brought them together again. Ruben Flesher clearly saw Crazy Stupid Love and was like,
that's what I want. Yeah. For sure. Any final thoughts you have on this movie?
Just that it's amazing.
Anything you'd like to bring up? I know we usually bring it over to Common Sense Media at this point in time, because all of our rom-coms in the past couple episodes we thought, let's see what the parents of America have to say about this movie. And I think there was at least one. There wasn't a lot in this one, but there was at least one gem of a review that there's
a couple. So what we've been doing the last couple episodes, we've been making a wee guessing game out of it. So you can play along at home. I'm going to read out a review. You need to guess the age rating that the parent is giving it and the star rating. So remember, it's out of 5.
Okay.
So I'll tell you the overall rating for Crazy Stupid Love is 14 plus. Parents say 15 plus. Kids say 13 plus. So the middle ground is 14 plus. And it's got 4 stars, which is valid. Okay, so I'm gonna read this one.
Okay.
Not good. Trust me is the title. I felt like I should wash my brain after this movie. Granted, I'm a person who doesn't watch R-rated movies and who finds a lot of the PG-13 movies are not suitable for anyone under the age of 18. There was a young boy caught masturbating. An 18-year-old likes an older man. To get his attention, she makes nude pictures of herself that she never gives him. An older man sits at a bar drinking and picking up women who he takes home with him several times. A younger man is shown to be drinking during most of the movie and hits on and takes home many women. They just repeated that line. The wife has an affair. There's almost sex scene. Okay.
An almost sex scene, not an almost sex scene.
The wife has an affair. There's an almost sex scene. The English in this is a bit jarring. I'm not gonna lie. I could go on. The problem is the director only gives you glimpses and a sense of what is going on. So a lot of people feel this is a clean movie because it shows very little. But in reality, this movie is so damaging. I will never be showing my kids this.
I would also like to say that I think the nude photograph stuff is crazy because she does at the end of the movie give the photographs to the young boy.
To the kids.
Yeah, and I thought that was like dodgy as hell. Like, that is just, this will get you through to college. Like, oh my God, like, what are you doing?
So what do you think?
I'm gonna go. Well, she said. I think she gave it away. I think 18 plus. I think that's that's an obvious. How
many stars?
I'll go 2. Maybe she enjoyed some of it.
4. 4
what?
stars. after slamming this film.
She hated this movie, did she not? She just told me she hated this movie.
That's the gist I got, but no, it gets 4 stars.
Jesus Christ.
So we got another one. I mean, there's a lot. I recommend if you're ever bored, just go to Common Sense Media and just Google any Emma Stone rom-com. There's a nice mix, but we're highlighting the best. So again, we're gonna guess the age rating and the star rating. So the title for this is very offensive movie. How dare they? And the review is: I walked out of this movie halfway through. Although from the very opening scene I was uncomfortable and should have just left then. I can't believe people think this kind of movie is entertainment. I was shocked and offended the whole time. The language was terrible. The messages were negative and depressing. The whole movie was so degrading. I can't believe the ages of some of the people who put in the positive reviews. Parents, wake up and teach your kids some standards. This is an obvious one, and this is an easy one. 5 stars. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no. I maybe I'm gonna go 2 and then 17 plus, maybe
18 plus and 1.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay.
They walked out. They walked out. So
they walked out.
I don't think the film is that bad. I
really enjoyed the movie. I think this is like.
Sorry, go for it.
I just said I really enjoy the movie. Like this is it's crazy.
Do you think it teaches negative messages?
I don't think it's a positive message. That's for sure.
I think to me the overall message is about fighting for the people you love.
Yeah, and giving nudes to 11-year-olds, but yes.
13-year-olds.
13. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I was gonna say. No, I mean it doesn't have
the womanizer stuff. I suppose he does sort of calm down, and he had his.
But there's no redemption arc, really, is there?
No, he just sort of like, I found the right girl. I'm happy now. Like there's no real reason for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe
out of 5. What are we thinking for out of 5 then? Overall quality.
I'm going to 4. I'm going to 4.
I'm going to 4.
I love this movie. Yeah, I do believe the ending lets it down. Again, I don't know how you would end this film, but I think I wasn't very happy with how they ended it.
This film has a strange ending. I don't know how you'd even come close to it.
Up until that point, perfect, amazing.
Yeah.
What about you?
4. Yeah, same with me. And not to copy or anything, but yeah, 4. It's it's one of my favorite rom-coms. I think it's really one of my favorite rom-coms. I love the cast. Like I said in the beginning, the cast is great chemistry. The way it weaves the stories together, it is just like brilliant in that way. I think one of the best plot twists, one of the best scenes, I think, in cinematic history. That entire plot twist, that scene is so good and so well done. Yeah, just 4 out of 5 for me. Easy 4 out of 5 for me.
Any other comments on Emma? I feel like we've not touched upon her loads, but I mean, she is just
she's a great part of the movie. I liked her lawyer stuff for standing up for herself scenes. So they were quite good. But yeah, she's not a massive role. She's not a massive role in this. It's more of a Steve Carell movie than anything else. But she plays a good supporting character.
I did notice watching it this time, because obviously the reveal is that she ends up being Steve Carell's daughter, and I knew that going into this watch, and I noticed that they do give you the clues. Like, on several occasions early on, Steve Carell and Julianne Moore talk about Nana, and obviously her name is Hannah. And I guess it's not. I mean, it's not an obvious link, but I guess that link is it. But I really appreciated that they did. They did reference it. It's
for a second watch.
It doesn't just come out of nowhere, for sure. It doesn't just come out of nowhere, because that's what I was looking for watching it this time. I was like, does it just come out of nowhere? But no, they fully mention Nana on a few occasions up until they don't tell you that Nana's their daughter, so it could be anyone.
We're talking about The Help, which is directed by Tate Taylor. It stars Viola Davis, Octavia Spencer, Jessica Chastain, Bryce Dallas Howard, and of course Emma Stone. Awais, what is this movie about?
Yeah, so it's an aspiring author during the civil rights movement of the 1960s decides to write a book detailing the African American maid's point of view on the white families for which they work, and sort of detailing the hardships that they go through on a daily basis. And Emma Stone plays Skeeter, who, you know, she returns from college determined to be a writer, and it's set in Mississippi during the 60s, and it's a film that came out in 2011, picked up a lot of acclaim when it came out, but
yeah, it was a go-to for a lot of stuff. I think it's based on a book in it, so I think it was a lot. There was a lot of English classes and things ended up watching this movie as a.
So it was based on a book by Catherine Stockett, which, funnily enough, was rejected 60 times before it was eventually published.
Wow.
And who's funnily enough friends with director Tate Taylor.
Tate Taylor, known for his other movies, Get On Up, I think was the biggest one in that list. Not done awful lot since, but Chadwick Boseman, the one that kind of put him on the map. That wasn't the baseball one. Which was,
emphasis on his other movies, because I did not realize Tate Taylor was a guy.
Yeah, and also
prior to and also white.
A white
prior
guy
prior to recording this. Yeah, it's a film that picked up a lot of hate over the last couple of years, with Black Lives Matters picking up a lot of traction.
A lot of people coming out against it. Even Viola Davis. I think the biggest quote, if you Google Viola Davis now, the first article that comes up is Viola Davis, I betrayed myself and my people in The Help. Like that.
You're saying quite a few celebrities came out, like of the cast came out against this.
I think it was Bryce Dallas Howard that was like had an Instagram post around the time of the George Floyd protests. There was a lot of them coming out, and people were recommend the movie jumped back into Netflix top 10s and stuff like that around the world, and all the cast kind of came out and went, hold up, no, let's not use this one as a good example, because it's obviously perpetuating the white savior narrative that they were trying to obviously go against. And Bryce Dallas Howard had put out like an Instagram post saying, watch these movies instead. I'm thankful for the relationships and friends I made on this movie, but it's not a good movie to watch. But Viola Davis, she was not, she did what she had to do, you know what I mean? In that respect, that's what kind of the takeaway from her interviews were after in the last year or so, was that she did what she had to do, kind of thing, where she like thought this would be a good step for her career, and more than anything else, I think, which is fair enough. I don't know what else there really is to say other than that.
I hadn't seen the film until literally last night, but I remember when sort of BLM was happening, and people were posting on their stories about, you know, films and documentaries to watch to, you know, be informed. I do remember The Help popping up on a little list and people being like, watch The Help, you know, be informed. And then again, knowing sort of nothing about The Help at the time, and then sort of seeing it come back a few weeks later and people being like, let's hold up, let's not be pushing The Help. And I feel like, I don't know if that affected my first viewing of it, going into it sort of knowing the controversy surrounding it.
It definitely affected me, I think. I think I definitely watched it with a different perspective than I would have watched it here. It's having maybe if I watched it in 2018, I wouldn't have. I would have been like, sure, whatever. But this time I actively watched it and I was picking stuff out, like the accents they made them use, the sort of. It was just sort of it feels cheap and plasticky when you watch it as well. Like the way it looks is very. I don't know. It doesn't feel authentic. It just feels quite tacky. It feels very off and odd. You know, it just doesn't. It doesn't feel like a proper. It feels. I think one of the critics on Rotten Tomatoes called it. It feels like a Lifetime movie, and I think that's a
It's accurate.
a perfect criticism. It feels like a television movie. It doesn't feel like a proper cinema movie. It doesn't feel like it's getting to the root of the problem either. I think the root of like the actual portraying what it was like for African American maids and stuff like that in that time. I think it's not accurate. You could watch. I'd love to say I know what other films to watch in this particular. I can only recommend you stuff like Do the Right Thing and all that. I don't know if you know any films in this kind of era like that. This sort of.
No. I mean, I would say Mudbound it deals with sort of similar ideas. It is a very different story. It's the only one that sort of comes to mind. But I mean, there are hundreds of other movies. To watch that sort of
so easy.
Deal with this time and deal with this topic in a much more authentic way. Also, probably worth saying we didn't enjoy the film. I feel like
no. Yeah, if you were wondering, we did not enjoy the film at all. I found it so boring. I think it's just that's one of the criticisms I think I would come away with no matter what. On any watch, I think it's just so boring. I
was gonna say I think even had I seen it, when it came out, like I feel like I would, I definitely would have been going into it with sort of less, clouded mind, but I think it is like just as a film, as a biopic, it is a bit boring. It's a bit dull and sort of slow. It's 2.5 hours long. It doesn't need to be. No. And then you throw in all the controversy, and I think that just embellishes the fact that it's not a great. And look, people think it's feel good and charming and stuff, and there are elements of it that I think are fine, but I guess it depends on. I guess a film like The Help depends on entirely why you're watching The Help, and most people are going to be watching The Help for the subject matter, not because they want a feel good movie.
At least now, anyway, I think a lot of people will be watching The Help for a subject matter, and
on that basis, it would have given you this. It doesn't work.
Even watching it in the past, it would have given you this like false sense of like feel good. Like it shouldn't have been a feel good. Do you know what I mean? No. It should not have been a comfort movie at all. Like it shouldn't feel positive because it's not a positive subject at all.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, you need we choose the films we watch for reasons. I watched Crazy Stupid Love because I want a rom-com. I would never watch The Help because I want a feel-good film. I would watch a film like The Help for the subject matter to be informed. Mm-hmm. And in terms of that, it doesn't work. It feels so disingenuous, and the whole white savior narrative is just really not good. It's a film that's about the white characters. Yeah,
it's about Emma Stone more than anything else.
Yeah. And it's a film that's supposed to be the whole book's detailing the sort of the struggles of like African American maids in the 60s, and then it's about the white characters. Like it's just I don't know. I will say this: the performances are really good. Like everyone does turn in really strong work. It has a good cast, and it remains that little bit watchable because everyone is good. Emma Stone is genuinely great in it. This is her first serious role. Yeah,
even though they dress her up in some of the weirdest costumes going.
Yeah,
she does. I think it must be her first serious.
I think it's her first dramatic role. We really only talked about rom-coms up until now.
Mm-hmm. And this signals a sort of turning point for her career as well, where I think we are going to start seeing a little bit more dramatic roles coming up.
And she is genuinely good. Like she's fantastic.
Viola
but
Davis.
I feel like
do you know what I mean? She literally cannot hand in a bad performance if she tried. Do you know what I mean? She's incapable. She is Viola Davis. You know what I mean? She's the Viola Davis of Viola Davis. She is incredible at what she does. And you know what I mean? She
Jessica Chastain, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah.
I think it's ingenious casting, putting Jessica Chastain and Bryce Dallas Howard in a film together. I mean, this is... I never knew it existed. Like, genuinely, I have always been like, if I ever get the chance to, make a movie or cast a film, Bryce Dallas Howard, Jessica Chastain put them together because it's obviously a bit of a meme now that they sort of
at least
look alike.
You can't tell the white characters apart in a way.
Yeah, but I fully did not realize they'd actually been in a film together, and I don't know, I loved the novelty of that. Seeing I'm a big fan of both of them.
Yeah, they're great. Ratings though, what are you thinking? I mean, this is going to be, I'm assuming, quite low.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I would give it two stars. And I think the only reason I would give it 2 is because, again, the performances are terrific. You know, the cast is really strong, and they do elevate the sort of material somewhat. I think it is just, I mean, purely as a film, like forget everything else, as a film, it is just long and a bit dull. Like, it doesn't really do much or say much or have a lot going for it, and at 2.5 hours that just becomes a bit boring. And then on top of that you throw on sort of all the controversy around it. And I think it just makes it harder to watch knowing all of that. What about yourself?
I mean, I'm struggling to choose between a 1 and a 2. I think it'd be somewhere in between for me. I think I'll just drop it down to a 1. I mean, this performance is only saving grace. It's hard to sit through. Like I was doing other stuff while I had it on at the end, but like the last, because it was going on forever. I was just like, come on, just stop. I started editing another review I had for Ohio Films. I just started doing other stuff while it was on in the background, and just because I just could not, my brain couldn't focus on it. I felt like if I was in a cinema, I would have just left, because it was just. No, it's a no from me in that regard. It's just too boring for its own good. And then you throw in all that, like you said, you throw in all that subject matter stuff, controversy. You're just like, get this away from me now.
I mean, I think the fact that, you know, there's a scene where the character Minnie sort of goes on about fried chicken and you know, the sort of importance of its preparation, and it feels like it's satire. And you were talking about it earlier. It sort of leans into the over exaggerated accents and stuff like that. And I just, you know, I'm looking here at the Rotten Tomato reviews because it got a sort of new leash of life. In 2018 onwards, and a lot of the sort of reviews are from then on Rotten Tomatoes, and they're all positive, and they're all talking about how it's feel good and sweet and sentimental, and you know, I don't know if that's I personally don't see that. I think there's a sort of big disparity in sort of the treatment between African American maids and sort of, you know, the people that sort of they're sort of mistresses, and I don't know, for me it's just a little bit tacky the way the sort of film handles that.
I think Viola Davis said, there's no one who's not entertained by The Help, but there's a part of me that feels like I betrayed myself and my people because I was in a movie that wasn't ready to tell the whole truth. And
I think that's the best summation of it that we're going to get. Like, I think that 100% sums it up. You're going to like that, you know, you're going to get what you want from The Help depending on what you're looking for in it.
Any closing thoughts? Any Emma Stone news going on at the moment? I think not a lot.
Not really.
We're in the middle of praying that she might show up in No Way Home. That's kind of where we're at. If you want to timestamp this podcast, we're sort of sitting here thinking, is she going to show up in No Way Home? Is she not?
Do you think she will?
I'm leaning towards no.
So? No,
because obviously she died.
I don't think so.
I think it'll even be a push if we get Kirsten Dunst. I think they are going to be a cameo at the very end. I don't think they're going to be a major part. I think it's going to be a very much a, here's the two Spider-Men, go and fight. I don't know. You know, it's one of those things. We'll have to see. Next week, we are talking about Gangster Squad and The Amazing Spider-Man. How very exciting. I'm looking forward to that episode. It's not like we're going to record it right now or anything. I've been Cameron. You can find me on Twitter at CamsOG. I also do another I'm doing loads of reviews right now. We're doing daily weekday reviews on Ohio Films, which is just crazy. I never thought we'd be doing this ever in my entire life, but we are just pumping out the reviews. Me and Jordy are pumping out the reviews on Ohio Films, so go and give that a subscribe if you can. or at OI Films. Awais, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Awais. Hopefully not stirring controversy, and on The Film Bite, www.thefilmbite.com.
Yeah, if you enjoyed today's episode, please, if you're all listening to us on podcast services, please give us a follow and maybe give us a good review if it does that. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe, and a like would do us a world of good. That'd be amazing. And leave a comment below. Let us know what you think about these movies, what you thought about The Crazy Stupid Love, The Help, or any other Emma Stone performance, or anything you think we should know. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next week.